Representatives find Merrick B. Garland in contempt of Congress for refusal to...
Without objection, the amendment is read. The gentlelady from Pennsylvania will explain her amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to lay the table, and this builds on the amendment we just considered. The disinformation coming from the other side of the aisle is so troubling. It's funny, but it's really much more troubling than anything else. As we all know, Special Counsel Hur was not called in to do some sort of a competency hearing. He was to find out whether or not President Biden would be charged for mishandling of documents. I refer you to Mr. Hur, Special Counsel Hur's report here. We have every page of it. I forget how big it is here. Hold on. It's 350, 60 pages. Line 1, page 1. This is Special Counsel Hur's finding. And he said here to us, seated right at that table, that this was after, quote, rigorous, detailed, and thorough analysis by him and his group, his staff. Sentence 1, page 1. We conclude that no criminal charges are warranted in this matter. And then I thought very interestingly, and I even asked him to read this to us. The exception is former President Trump. I'm reading from page 11. Again, rigorously, thoroughly reported here by Special Counsel Hur in his conclusive findings. The exception, meaning that one person, one president, has been charged in misuse of classified documents. Page 11. It is not our role to assess the criminal charges pending against Mr. Trump, but several material distinctions between Mr. Trump's case and Mr. Biden's case are clear. You'll remember I asked Special Counsel Hur to read this. Unlike the evidence involving Mr. Biden, the allegations set forth in the indictment of Mr. Trump, if proven, would present serious aggravating facts, as my colleague read also. Most notably, continuing in the report, after being given multiple chances to return classified documents and avoid prosecution, Mr. Trump allegedly did the opposite. According to the indictment, he not only refused to return the documents for many months, but he also obstructed justice by enlisting others to destroy evidence and then lie about it. End quote. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Why do my Republican colleagues need this audio file at all? After all, DOJ has provided 92,000 documents. It's plenty to go through, including the transcript, and let me hold that up, 2 days' worth of testimony, the transcript of the president cooperating in the 2 days following the attack in Israel on October the 7th. But this president, this sitting president, cooperated fully and completely. Every word of his testimony is reported here. Do you think the Republicans really want to listen to the president's vocal tone, pace, inflections, verbal nuance, and other idiosyncrasies? I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. It may be they want to do that, but only because they think they can manipulate President Biden's voice to make it the next Trump for president ad. After all, they've done it before. Take a look. March 2020, Trump's White House social media director posted and Trump retweeted an edited video that cut off President Biden's sentence to make it sound like President Biden was endorsing Trump. Later that year, Steve Scalise shared an edited video of President Biden that falsely made it appear that he was supporting defund the police. And back in 2019, President Trump and Rudy Giuliani both retweeted a manipulated video of Speaker Pelosi that had been doctored to make the speaker appear incompetent. Unfortunately, we know that our chairman, our very chairman, has taken part in these phony manipulations too. I have to admit to you, as a mother and a grandmother, this next example hurts the most. Last year, Ms. Nina Jankowicz testified in her deposition that Chairman Jordan actually tweeted a manipulated video of her that contributed to a deluge of death threats against her. She was 8 months pregnant, while strangers online called her a Nazi and told her she should die. She had to attend her
Will the gentlelady shall suspend for a second?
I will not yield.
I'm not asking you to yield. We are citing a deposition. I have a point of order. There you go. The gentlelady.
I ask you to
it's 40 seconds.
restore the clock.
Yeah, I have a point of order. You are citing a deposition in your amendment that has not been released in violation of House rules.
Let me check with my team.
Yeah.
I'll make the point that they should release the deposition.
Yeah, we're happy to release it.
And she should
All
be
right,
able
then
to
it's
quote
decided. They're happy to release the deposition. I ask for thank you for restoring my time.
We have to strike the language that is citing the deposition that has not been released by House rules.
Because you don't want to release it? You don't want to release what Mr. Jordan did?
I can't release it in real time.
I think you could. Ask the chairman.
Mr. Chairman, parliamentary inquiry. Can the chairman make a point of order? If so, who rules on whether...
Mr. Chairman, parliamentary inquiry.
Yes.
Can the chairman make a point of order? If so, then who rules whether the point of order is in order or not? No, the point of order is made by the chairman.
I can make a point, sua sponte, make a point of order. I'm in charge of enforcing the rules.
On your
of the
own
House.
point of order?
Yes.
Can someone else be heard on the point of order?
May I speak to the point of order? No?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the sitting chairman of this committee knows that this transcript was from last April. The committee has every ability and has awesome time to have released that. It seems to me and this side of the aisle that it is trying to be withheld in order to protect the chairman from something quite embarrassing. I ask that it be released today.
Would the gentlelady yield?
Hold on.
I sure will.
Hold on.
Okay.
That requires consultation with majority and minority counsel, and the fact that you wish that it was released prior to that does not supersede the fact that a cited deposition that has not been released by this committee is cited in the amendment that is in violation of House rules.
Is the irony visible to anyone else here? Anybody else notice the irony here?
Mr. Chairman,
Objection.
Release the deposition.
Mr. Chairman, parliamentary inquiry.
You've got the whole transcript here, and you're afraid
Gentleman will state his inquiry.
What precisely in the amendment are you objecting to?
Just the content, the quotation.
Which quotations?
Page 2 and 3.
We can just strike the quotes. We're happy to release it tomorrow.
That's a decision for you all. The quotations in 2 and 3. Page 2 and 3.
The quotation that reads, question, so it is fair to say the 1-minute video that Mr. Jordan linked to just made it sound like, let me finish. Just made it sound like you were endorsing.
Objection, Mr. Chairman.
Correct.
Objection.
Gentleman is out of order.
As a minute.
Objection.
Gentleman is out of order. Gentleman will suspend.
So Mr. Jordan relied on this kind of
Gentleman is out of order. The gentleman will suspend.
Who is out of order?
You are, Mr. Knapp.
I've made a parliamentary. Why am I out of order? What am I violating?
You're disclosing the content of a deposition that has not been released by the House.
It's disclosed in this amendment that's already been published publicly.
Which is the entire point of the parliamentary inquiry.
Well, then I'm happy to amend my amendment to take out only the Q&A that you do not want revealed, because the chairman would be embarrassed by it. I will.
Is there
take that out.
objection? You, yeah.
Wishful
Take it
thinking.
out of the record. Thank you.
On the point of order.
I want to be heard on the point of order. She's disclosed all this, she being Ms. Jankowicz, in interviews on multiple
That doesn't
occasions.
matter. I mean, her testimony towards that versus the transcript of the deposition are not the same. Disclosure.
Well, but the point there is, and I think the author of the amendment offered to strike the exact quotes, but the substance of the statements is public information.
Yeah. The amendment discloses committee record that has not been released in violation of House rules.
Well, but
How about my amended amendment? I'm taking out the testimony which this committee, the majority on the committee, does not want revealed. And I guess I don't even want to ask, can we get the audio of that?
I mean, if you look at the footnotes, Mr. Chairman,
will the gentlelady ask for unanimous consent to amend the amendment?
I ask for unanimous consent to amend the amendment to take out the language that you don't want revealed. Take out the Q&A.
Is there an objection? Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. Chairman,
Gentlelady is recognized.
I thank you. I think I had 40 seconds, but I'll take 30. Again, the irony is just extraordinary in this committee. Misrepresentation, a finding of incompetence by the former president, when you know this special counsel found. We conclude no criminal charges are warranted in this matter. It is absurd that the chairman of this committee, who sits in offense to his own subpoena, hundreds and hundreds of days, is seeking the voice of the president, whose voice he knows very, very well. The testimony is rich and complete. I ask that my amendment be considered and be honored and passed, because otherwise we could see the use of this audio, to be doctored, to be deep-faked, and to be Trump ads. I urge all my colleagues to support my amendment. Thanks so much.
Anybody else seek recognition? Gentleman from Virginia.
I'm hesitant to speak because
Can't hear you.
I'm hesitant to speak, Mr. Chairman, because I'm so stunned by the amendment proposed by the gentlelady to get around House rules to disclose documents that have not been released by this committee. Is that how we're going to play now? Is that how the other side is going to play? Because that violates not just House rules, but general rules of decorum, general rules of decency. I mean, this committee has been a respected body in this Congress and many previous Congresses for many years. And one of the things that it emphasizes is not just the rule of law, but the balancing of the branches of government. When the executive branch overreaches its authority and says, we don't have to hand over these tapes to the legislative branch of government, we should be united in saying, how dare you? We should be united in saying, we represent the people. We are entitled to these tapes. We ask for them, we should get them. And to not just say no, but to say, to hell with your request, and to hell with House rules, and to hell with decorum, we're going to make a mess of the rules that have been followed by this committee and many others for years and years. Is just offensive. So I oppose this. I'm going to reluctantly, well, the gentlelady's amendment is I'm going to oppose the amendment, but the way in which she went about her amendment, I'm going to strenuously oppose. I yield back.
Ranking members recognized.
I thank the gentleman. I want to point out two things. One, the striking hypocrisy of the majority in opposing this amendment, which simply reveals some records, while demanding the release of an audio tape of information that's already been released by transcript. And we know that in the past, the chairman of this committee has doctored audio tapes to make them say what they didn't, in fact, say. This amendment points this out. And I would also point out that even if the quotes are taken out of this amendment, which has happened, And whether or not this amendment passes, which it should, but in any event, this is all now on the public record, so you can't accomplish anything because it's out there. The hypocrisy, the dishonesty of the chairman is out there, revealed in the text of this amendment, whether it passes or not. And with that, I'll yield to Mr. Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Ranking Member. I just want to point out a couple of things. One is, with respect to the specifics here, in the footnotes, it's clearly public information. Footnote 5 is Jim Jordan's Twitter account. So it's not like we made this public. That was already made public by the chairman. Footnote number 2 is the letter from the Department of Justice. Footnote number 3 is an article from the Associated Press. So let's not get over the top here and start complaining about, deeply secret or confidential information that's out there. But I do want to say this, too, and, to my colleague from Virginia. There's 115-plus transcripts from interviews that this committee's done that this committee's refused to disclose and make public. So we should do that. I mean, I hear all the statements today about, the public's right to know and we need the information. Let's do it. Put the information out. Put out the 115. And then with respect to my colleague, I'll say this too, because this goes specifically to the conversation we had at our last hearing, where I requested email communications between House Republican majority and the departments and agencies that we keep dragging in to produce documents. I moved to request the information. That wasn't agreed to at the time. So, this is not my time to yield, but, look, if you want to get upset about her making a statement, my colleague from Pennsylvania, where it's public information, I think that's incorrect. And to say you're offended by it, I think is kind of over the line. But if we want to turn the page as a committee and you all want to disclose this information and make it public, by all means, let's do it. And I yield back to the gentleman from New York.
I'll yield back.
Anybody seek recognition? Gentleman from Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield to the gentlelady from Pennsylvania, Ms. Dean.
Thank you. I very much appreciate it. I wanted to tell the rest of the story that is public knowledge about what happened as a result of these misleading narratives. Ms. Jankowicz, after these misleading narratives were spread about her, she received tens of thousands of death threats. You talk about decency and decorum, a manipulated video. You talk about decency and decorum here. My goodness. She had to go to court to obtain restraining order against the individual who had harassed her and repeatedly doxed her family. She was 8 months pregnant while strangers online called her a Nazi and told her that she should die. And she had to attend her prenatal appointments in disguise to avoid being recognized and harassed on the street. When a reporter reached out to Chairman Jordan, well, I'll skip that part. Ms. Jankowicz encountered a staffer responding that Ms. Jankowicz was on the board's public face and should thus be held accountable in public. As you see, I'm taking out Mr. Jordan's role in any of this because he doesn't want anything to be known about his role in this, and I really want to honor that. In August of 2020, the current House Majority Leader shared an edited video that changed the words of a disabled activist and spliced clips together to falsely portray President Biden appearing to support defunding all the police, even though Biden has specifically said that the reforms being discussed were not the same as getting rid of or defunding the police. I want to just say that it is strange to hear from the other side of the aisle that they're worried about decency or indecency. They're worried about decorum. Please take a look in the mirror at your own members, what they do to spread disinformation and lies, to confuse the public knowingly. To say that this somehow, Special Counsel's report was about competency is so shameful. You know that's not what it is about. You just don't like the results of the report. The results of the report being we conclude that no criminal charges are warranted in this matter against President Biden. You don't like that. You wish you could have had it another way because your own candidate is rightly facing charges. With that, I do have one unanimous consent. I asked to enter into the record just so that we can be more complete because the majority doesn't want to reveal the transcript of their conversation with Ms. Jankowicz. This is public reporting. The article is A Surreal Experience. Former Biden disinfo chief details harassment. It is from March 8th of last year, and it is Politico.
Without objection.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. And members of this committee on the other side continue to repeat the falsehood that this hearing and this resolution is a part of an impeachment inquiry. Well, the last I heard about an impeachment inquiry by this do-nothing Congress, after having spent $20 million in this committee investigating President Biden, the last I heard of an impeachment was by the chair of the other committee, the Oversight Committee, which has actually been the committee handling impeachment. And at that point, after they had President Biden's son in, Hunter, to testify and couldn't get anything out of him, the chair pretty much threw the towel in on. He threw in a white towel into the ring, and it was, gave up pretty much on impeachment. And now this committee is trying to drag it out of the garbage can and try to trick the American people into believing that this is a part of an impeachment inquiry. It is not. It's simply a expedition to try to make President Biden look bad, in keeping with the report of Special Counsel Hur, who cleared President Biden, but nevertheless inserted some unnecessary and derogatory information in there that this committee has seized upon and continues to kick like a dead horse. And with that, I'll yield back.
Gentlemen, asked back who seeks recognition. Question is on the amendment. Clerk. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? No. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. Roll call. Roll call has been ordered. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Jordan. Mr. Issa. Mr. Gates. Mr. Biggs. Mr. McClintock. Mr. Tiffany. Mr. Massey. Mr. Roy. Mr. Bishop. Ms. Spartz. Ms. Spartz votes no. Mr. Fitzgerald. Mr. Benz. Mr. Benz votes no. Mr. Klein. Mr. Klein votes no. Mr. Armstrong.
No.
Mr. Armstrong votes no. Mr. Gooden. Mr. Van Drew. Mr. Nels. Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore votes no. Mr. Kiley. Mr. Kiley votes no. Ms. Hageman. Ms. Hageman votes no. Mr. Moran. Ms. Lee. Mr. Hunt. Mr. Fry. Mr. Nadler. Mr. Nadler votes aye. Ms. Lofgren. Ms. Jackson-Lee. Mr. Cohen. Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson votes aye. Mr. Schiff. Mr. Swalwell. Mr. Liu. Ms. Jayapal. Mr. Correa. Ms. Scanlon. Mr. Neguse. Ms. McBath. Ms. Dean. Ms. Dean votes aye. Ms. Escobar. Ms. Ross. Ms. Bush. Mr. Ivey.
Aye.
Mr. Ivey votes aye. Ms. Ballant. Ms. Ballant votes aye.
How's Mr. Issa recorded?
Mr. Issa, you're not recorded. Mr. Issa votes no.
Mr. Tiffany?
Mr. Fitzgerald, you're